634 Adages of Imam Ali, peace be upon him, about the bad habits and avoiding them. 334. The most devilish of children is the disobedient. We find out that obedience to creation is limited to obedience to the revelation and the inspiration. So the revealed scripture and the inspired sayings of the prophet. And when it comes to family, we also find out in the Quran that it's limited to what is fair. Certainly doing something or not doing something may be right or wrong in itself, but we have our own actual needs to take care of. And some things are too much of a burden otherwise. 335. Riding the greed cuts the necks of men. 336. The mean have no courage. 337. The habit of the evil ones is to oppose the good ones. 338. The habit of the evil ones is to harm the companions. Now, for some people, this would mean harming the people around you that choose to be around you, or it could be harming the people around the good people, and that of course affects the good people, and it also could be harming those, through our uncareful speech about them who knew Muhammad, and there's said to be 144,000 of those. There are different numbers that are put forward, but 339. It is not of generosity to cut the kinship relations. 340. The most devilish of manners is lying and hypocrisy. 341. Righting the bad habits, that is the title of stupidity. 342. Squandering bears no honor. 343. The reason of corruption and piety is the greed. 344. Who asks for help from the weak shows how weak he is. 345. May there be a deed that gets corrupted by the intention. Okay, there may be a deed that is corrupted by the intention. Some of this stuff sounds like a supplication, but it's not. In Arabic, some words aren't needed, so and in Arabic, we would know the difference between the supplication and, saying that something might be the case. 346. Who gets closer to the silly one? That shows how silly he is. 347. The beauty of evil is the greed. 348. Who sold his afterlife for the sake of his life? Then he lost both. 349. The reason of wickedness is being alone. 350. There may be a proud man that gives the heritage of corruption. 351. Who accompanies the evil ones shall not be safe. 352. Bad planning is the reason of destruction. I've seen the results of that with gangs. Number 351 is that people think, oh, well, if I just join a gang or whatever, I'll be safer. And it's like, in some situations, far less safe. 353. Avoid disappointing, deserting, and cutting the kinship relations. 354. Whose worries are a lot, his body shall be sick. 355. May there be a cautious, a miser. Oh, there may be someone who's cautious who got killed by his own caution. And people relate to the misery. 356. Whose anxieties are a lot, his sadness is eternal. 357. An envious man has no friends. 358. Avoid treachery, for it is an avoidance of Islam. There's no divine love for treachery. What's the verse? It's Surah 8 something. 359. Who lives for a long time, his adversities are abundant. 360. The most devilish thing that would live in the heart is the grudge. 361. Avoid backstabbing, for it is an avoidance to the Quran. Now, if there's violations of property or physical rights or something like that, you can mention that to address the evil or something, but you don't go around betraying people per se, right? 362, who has no shyness, no goodness lies in him. Now, the bad planning kind of relates this to what's found in the Bible when people talk about lust. It's not that you're something's wrong because you have a desire. No, it's because you've had that plan. There's a verse that actually translates that whoever has a plan towards evil. And of course, yeah, God can stop you from doing your plan and you're rewarded for not doing things, but you got to avoid having those plans out there in the first place. 362. The bad manners are the troubles of living and the torture of the soul. 364. Neglecting the good deed brings the prohibition. 365. The evil is summed in the company of the bad friend. 366. The bad manners are the most devilish of friends. 367. Who begs people much, so shall they be humiliated. 368. The miser has no companion. 369. The slave of the lust is humiliated more than the slave of enslavement. 370. Who opposes the truth shall be accompanied by weakness. 371. Lying is not a habit of the prophets. 372. The law of the mean ones is to deny the favor. 373. Who blames the men, then his enemies are a lot. 374. The proud one has no friends. 375. The shame of the defamation spoils the sweetness of the lust. 376. Bad intentions are a deep sickness. 377. Who lies a lot, his halo is lessened. 378. Cutting the kinship relations has no bearing on growth. Oh, it bears no growth. Again, some difficulty with the translation. 379. The weapon of meanness is the envy. 380. Whose lust is abundant, his courage is lessened. 381. Envy is not a character of the pious. 382. The slave of the misery is eternal in his troublesome times. And 380 is what I mean by a person of their passions, if you've heard me say that phrase. 383. To ask for paradise with working, that is stupidity. Without working is what I think that's supposed to say, because certainly your good thoughts, your good words, and your deeds count towards that. Islam definitely agrees with that. They don't break it into those three in a grouping, but yeah. But there's also, the mercy of God is required. So I'd have to see the Arabic to know some inflections in that, right? 384, whose aggression lasts longer, has his authority would be destroyed. 385, flattery was not a manner of the prophets. 386, the one asking for goodness from the mean people shall be banned. 387, who rides with speed reaches the flaws. Yeah, it's better to take your time than to be quicker. 388, By greed, the manners are corrupted. 389. If worshipping is lessened, sins are grown up. Oh, if worshipping is lessened, sins are grown up. And I've definitely seen in my life how saying the prayers on time, wherever I are, has stopped some things from happening, or been part of it. Even others that might invite you towards sin know, oh, this guy fasts, this guy prays. I better back up. I better put this substance that I have in my bag away because he's not interested, or, the equivalent in your life. 390. By pride, hatred starts. 391. If the minds were lessened, then curiosity is grown up. 392. By laziness, missing the chance comes. 393. If doubts present themselves, the thoughts would go bad. 394. By misery, the troublesome time comes. Or by misery. 395. Most of these translations say stinginess or something like this, so you're not going to miss up those words. But if the sins of the friend were so much, then happiness around him is lessened. 396. By desperation, doom is assured. 397. If the pious run after people and escape away from him, because certainly, one, people can change from being pious, and two, if they have a good cause and they're going after someone in one way or another, it's best to step back, right? 398. According to the level of happiness shall be the disturbance. And by 397's comment, I do not mean that, we're supporting vigilante stuff or anything like that. 399. If the mean glorified you more, then humiliate him more. 400. According to the abundance of wrath shall be the rashness. 401. The best of faith is infidelity. Oh, the beast of faith. Okay. The beast of faith is infidelity. 402. By avoiding the truth, error would be. 403. The beast of the belief is the doubt. 404. By doubting all the time, infidelity comes. 405. The beast of giving favors is neglecting them. There's nothing essentially wrong with the animal self or anything like that, so beast, but, I'm sure it's a word that's a negative thing, like saying the worst. The worst of giving favors is neglecting them and all that. 406. By being proud too much, corruption shall be. Well, don't exaggerate your self-esteem is one way to put that. 407. If you did a good deed to a mean one, he shall trouble you with what you give him. Now, with wisdom, sometimes that stops people, but definitely don't prefer those who are wrongdoers in your favors. 408. By avoiding the low deeds, you shall be safe from torture. 409. If the intention was bad, the adversity shall be revealed. 410. By greed, the necks of men shall be humiliated. 411. The beast of the honor is the pride. 412. The beast of kindness is humiliation. 413. The beast of economy is misery. 414. In evil lies rudeness. 415. The most unjust of people is who considers his injustice to be justice issued from his side. And right and wrong doesn't depend on what side you are. It's like, I want to be this sort of person over here, this sort of, no. 416. In misery lies the tiredness. 417. The most destructive thing is the everlasting error. 418. The evil that is punished for the fastest is the injustice. 419. The greatest of sins is a sin that was insisted upon by its doer. 420. The beginning of the desire, lust, disturbance, and its end is a trouble. 421. The weakest of enemies is he who shows his enmity. 422. The ugliest of sins is cutting the kinship relations and disobedience to parents. Or you could also say, if your spouse has a need or asks for help or something like that. 423. The most regretful thing is the passing of chances. 424. What is harder than death is asking for something from people who are not capable of it. 425. The most miserable one is who was a miser for a greeting. 426. The most unjust to people is he who was unjust to someone who was just to him. 427. The biggest shame is to mock at something that you have in yourself. 428. The man troubled the most is he who sells his religion for the life of someone else. 429. The ugliest of misery is to ban the money from the people deserving it. 430. He spoiled his religion who got naked of piety. So, the person who had good habits and all that, good consciousness, and they kind of worked away from it. 431. He got himself down who felt the greed in himself. 432. The beginning of lust is pleasure and its end is to damage. Again, don't make your life about being a person of your passions. Hedonism regards the results. Don't let people confuse you about that. It's, the results, even in this life, can indicate that what we want is not always the best. 433. The beginning of fun is a play and its end is to war. 434. The most hated creature for Allah is the doubtful about his faith. 435. The affection that is the fastest to be over, the affection to the evil ones. 436. The worst injustice is if you banned the rights of Allah. Maybe that instead of GH, we would not have that, and then add E between T and S. But it's the same thing, right? There's the duty to God and the duty to creation. 437. The most humiliated of people is he who is not respectful to people. 438. The stupidest of people is he who thinks he is the smartest of people. 439. The most unable of people is he who is unable to pray to Allah. Now, certain positions and stuff can be changed, or certain things can be left out if you're mentally incapable of learning more or even doing more than, you have to have the book in hand when somebody's not leading you. Still, you can pray, but the person who's, can't bring themselves to do what they can. If you can stand for other things, you stand in the prayer. If you can bow for other things, you bow in the prayer. If you can kneel for other things, you kneel in the prayer. 440. The one of the people who has the longest hope has the worst deeds. 441. The one of the people who has abundance in hopes remembers death a little. 442. The hardest of tasks is to ask for what is in the hands of the mean ones. 443. The hardest thing is the unjust Of the judges, 444, the ugliest excuse is to spread the secret. Well, in my country, you'll hear people say, oh, I shouldn't tell you, but such and such. No, you gotta not do that.